The city never really slept. Even at midnight, the streets shimmered under golden lights. Cars hummed in the distance and laughter echoed faintly through the night. Yet, among all that life, there were always a few souls who felt completely alone. Ali was one of them. He often stood on the rooftop of his apartment holding a cup of coffee that had long gone cold, staring at the endless skyline and wondering why everything inside him felt so empty. His life looked perfect from the outside: friends, a stable job, a routine, but deep within something was missing, or maybe someone. Everything changed the next morning. Running late for work, distracted and hurried, Ali collided with someone on a busy street. Books fell to the ground, and as he bent to pick them up, he heard a soft voice say, "It was okay." When Hal looked up, time seemed to stop. Her eyes were calm yet deep, her presence simple yet unforgettable. "What's your name?" he asked without thinking. Zarooj, she replied with a gentle smile. That name stayed with him instantly, like something he had been waiting his whole life to hear. He introduced himself, and in the chaos of the street, they stood still as if the world around them had faded away. A simple apology turned into an invitation for coffee, and that one coffee turned into hours of effortless conversation. They talked about everything and nothing, laughed over small things, and somehow Ali found himself opening up in ways he never had before. Zarooj listened as if every word mattered. Days turned into weeks, and those occasional meetings became a part of their daily lives. Slowly, Ali began to feel alive again. The emptiness inside him started fading, replaced by something warm and unfamiliar. But there was always something about Zarooj, something distant. Sometimes she would go quiet suddenly, her eyes carrying a sadness she never explained. Whenever Ali asked, she would smile and brush it off. But he knew there was something she wasn't telling him. One rainy night, everything changed. Ali waited at their usual spot, a bus stop where they often met. For the first time, Zarooj was late. Just as he was about to leave, he saw her standing across the street, drenched in rain, completely still. Something was wrong. He rushed to her, his heart pounding. When she finally looked at him, her eyes were filled with fear. "Ali, there's something I need to tell you," she whispered. The rain poured heavily as she struggled to speak. Finally, she said the words that shattered his world. She was sick, seriously sick, and she was leaving. Ali felt everything inside him collapse. He couldn't understand why she hadn't told him before she admitted she was scared of losing him even before she was gone, scared of being seen with pity instead of love. But Ali refused to accept it. He held her hand and told her he wasn't going anywhere, that whatever she was facing, they would face it together. From that night on, their love became real in a way neither of them had expected. There were no more secrets. Ali saw the truth behind her smiles, and instead of pulling away, he loved her even more deeply. They spent their days making memories, laughing louder, holding on to moments longer, as if trying to stretch time itself. One evening, sitting on the rooftop where Ali once stood alone, he confessed his love. Zarooj tried to stop him, saying loving her would only bring him pain. But he told her not loving her would hurt more. She finally admitted she loved him too, and in that moment their hearts found each other completely, even though they both knew time was not on their side. As days passed, fear silently grew inside Ali. Every smile of hers felt fragile, every moment temporary. Then one morning she didn't show up, no calls, no messages. Panic took over him and he rushed to the hospital, where he found her lying weak on a bed, the doctor later told him the truth. Her condition was worsening and she didn't have much time left. Those words broke him, but he refused to give up. He stayed by her side every day. Wanting to escape reality, Ali took her away to a quiet place near the mountains. For a brief time it felt like they had defeated everything. They watched sunsets, counted stars, laughed freely, and lived as if nothing else mattered. But happiness couldn't last forever. One night Zarooj collapsed. Ali held her as she struggled to breathe, his world falling apart in his arms. She looked at him one last time and whispered, "If there's another life, find me again." He begged her not to leave, but she smiled softly and said she would always be with him, just not the way he wanted. With her final breath, she said, "I love you," and just like that, she was gone. The world didn't stop, it never does. But for Ali, everything ended that night. Days passed, then weeks, and he became distant from everything. The only thing he had left was the box she gave him. When he finally opened it, he found letters for every moment when he missed her, when he felt alone, when he couldn't sleep. In one of them, she asked him not to stop living, not to let her absence become his end, because loving him had been the most beautiful part of her life. Through his tears, Ali smiled for the first time since losing her. Slowly he began to move forward. He returned to the rooftop, the place where his loneliness once lived. But now he didn't feel completely alone. In the breeze, in the sunsets, in the quiet moments, he felt her presence. One evening as he sat there watching the sky, a girl walked past him. Something about her felt familiar, the way she moved, the way she smiled. She turned and looked at him, softly saying, "Hi, Ali," as heart skipped a beat. In that moment he remembered Zarooj's words. Maybe love doesn't truly end, maybe it simply waits, and finds its way back in another beginning. The city never really slept. Even in the quietest hours of the night, the streets shimmered under golden lights, cars whispered past like distant thoughts, and somewhere, laughter echoed as if the world refused to pause. Yet hidden within all that movement were hearts that felt completely still, completely alone. Ali was one of them. Night after night he stood on the rooftop of his apartment holding a cup of coffee that always went cold before he could finish it, staring at the endless skyline as if searching for something he couldn't name. From the outside, his life looked perfect. He had friends, a stable job, and a routine that most people envied, but inside there was a quiet emptiness that never left him. It wasn't a noise he lacked, it was meaning, or maybe it was someone. Everything changed on an ordinary morning that didn't feel important at all until it became the most important day of his life. Ali was running late, distracted, rushing through the crowded street with his mind somewhere else, when suddenly he collided with someone. Books scattered across the pavement and time seemed to slow as he bent down to pick them up. "I am so sorry," he said quickly, but when he looked up and met her eyes, something shifted inside him. Her name was Zarooj. She wasn't extraordinary in a way the world would notice, but to Ali she felt like something rare, like a quiet moment in the middle of chaos. There was a softness in her voice, a depth in her eyes that felt strangely familiar, as if he had known her in a life he couldn't remember. What started as an apology turned into a coffee invitation, and that single cup of coffee stretched into hours of effortless conversation. With her, silence wasn't awkward and words didn't feel forced. They spoke about random things, laughed at nothing, and somehow Ali found himself opening parts of his heart he had never shared with anyone. Zarooj listened in a way that made him feel understood, not judged. Days turned into weeks, and those small meetings became a part of his everyday life without realizing it. Ali began to feel alive again. The emptiness inside him slowly filled with something warm, something real, but there was always something about Zarooj that felt slightly out of reach. Sometimes she would pause mid-conversation, her eyes drifting away as if she were lost in thought she didn't want to share. Sometimes her smile felt incomplete, like it was hiding something painful underneath. Ali noticed, but he didn't push too hard. He just stayed hoping she would open up when she was ready. The truth revealed itself on a rainy night that felt heavier than usual. Ali waited for her at their usual spot, the bus stop where their routine had quietly built itself. For the first time she was late. The rain grew stronger, the minutes stretched longer, and a strange unease settled in his chest. Just when he thought she wouldn't come, he saw her standing across the street, soaked, motionless, as if she had forgotten how to move. When he reached her eyes told him everything. Before her words did, fear, pain, and something final. She told him she was sick. Not the kind of sickness that passes with time, but the kind that takes time away. She had hidden it because she didn't want him to see her differently. Didn't want their moments to feel heavy with pity. But for Ali, the truth didn't change how he felt. It deepened it. He held her hand and told her he wasn't going anywhere, that whatever time they had, they would face it together. From that moment on, their love became something stronger than fear. It wasn't perfect or easy, but it was real. They lived their days with an urgency they had never known before. They laughed louder, stayed longer, and held on to every moment as if trying to make it last forever. Ali confessed his love one evening as the sun painted the sky in fading gold, and though Zarooj tried to stop him, afraid of the pain it would bring, she couldn't deny her own feelings. She loved him too, and that love, though beautiful, carried the quiet weight of time slipping away. As weeks passed, reality became impossible to ignore. Zarooj grew weaker, her energy fading, her smile softer. One day she didn't show up at all, panic drove. Ali to the hospital where he found her lying pale and fragile. The doctor's words were clear, her time was limited. That moment broke something inside him, but instead of stepping back, he stepped closer. He stayed with her every day, reading to her, talking to her, holding her hand as if letting go wasn't an option. At night, when she slept, he allowed himself to break silently. Before things became worse, Ali took her away from the hospital to a quiet place near the mountains where the air felt lighter and the sky stretched endlessly above them. For a few days it felt like time had slowed down just for them. They watched sunsets, counted stars, shared dreams they both knew might never come true. Those days became their forever within a limited time. But reality always finds its way back. One night, Zarooj collapsed in his arms. Her breathing grew faint, her grip weak, but still holding on to him as if she didn't want to let go. Through tears she whispered her final wish that if there was another life, he should find her again. Ali begged her to stay, promised her everything, but some promises cannot change fate. With a soft smile and a quiet "I love you," she was gone. The world didn't stop, it never does. But for Ali, time lost its meaning. Days blurred into nights and silence became his only companion. The only thing he had left was the box Zarooj had given him. Inside were letters, each one written for moments he would face without her. In those letters she reminded him to keep living, to not let her absence define his end. Slowly, painfully, those words began to heal him. Months passed, and Ali returned to the rooftop where everything once began. The emptiness was still there, but it no longer consumed him. Instead, it coexisted with memories that felt both painful and beautiful. One evening, as he sat watching the sky, someone passed by, a girl whose presence felt strangely familiar. There was something in her smile, something in the way she looked at the horizon that made his heart pause. She turned to him and said, "Hi," and in that simple moment something shifted again. Not the same, not a replacement, but something new, something quietly powerful. Ali didn't rush to understand it, didn't try to label it. He just felt it. Because maybe love doesn't come back in the same form. Maybe it changes, evolves, finds its way through different faces in different moments. Ali smiled gently and replied, "Aye." And as the city continued to glow under its endless lights, as life moved forward without pause, something inside him finally did too. Not forgetting the past, not replacing it, but carrying it forward into something new. Because some love stories don't truly end. They simply continue in another heartbeat, another moment, another beginning.